As we get started this morning and everything else, I want you to feel relaxed and stop me at any moment to ask me any single question you possibly want, okay? And the reason I say that is because this is for you, all right? It ain't about me, it's for you and for you to answer all your questions. And I'm gonna throw a lot of stuff at you, and you're gonna see it's gonna be kind of surprising. But before we get started, how many of you remember the first time you ever walked into a dental laboratory? You know? Stop and think. I remember mine, and I'll tell you about it. It was on a cold morning, and I remember I was walking up. I was in downtown Charlotte, and I was walking up these creaky steps, all right? And it's a little hallway. It's in an office building. It was like a 3-story tall office building. And I'm an old guy, okay? They didn't even have elevators in those buildings back then, so it was like I remember going up these steps. I remember passing through this door. And of course the smell hit me, all right? And then it was like, but I looked around, I saw all these people, you know, doing this and doing that and everything else. And then I looked over there across the room and I saw this very stately gentleman who was sitting at a bench. And he was checking the work out and he would wrap it up. He'd reach down in this wooden barrel, okay? I don't mean a heavy wooden barrel, not like a whiskey barrel, but just a wooden barrel. He'd reach down and pick some paper up. He'd wrap his case up, you know, and he got it ready to go out the door. And anyway, he had me come over there and sit beside him. So I went over there and I sat beside him, you know, and that was my first memory of a dental laboratory. The reason I bring that up is because that was my grandfather. And I was probably 3 years old at the time. And what's funny is I still have that same wooden barrel. And I still have that same stool that he put me on, all right? But like I said, I'm old, so that was like 50-something years ago, you know. But that shows one thing. A lot of things don't change, and it also shows that dental technicians never throw anything away. So, anyway, let's get started this morning with all digital at SuperSpeed, all right? But before we can really go there, let's go back to our, you know, let's back up for about 5 years and what can we learn from where we were, okay, before we start advancing. And the reason I want to bring this up is because 5 years ago, I was the president of NADL, okay? After 5 years, or at that 5-year point, the economy went to hell in a handbasket. I didn't have anything to do with it. Okay, I swear to you, I had nothing to do with the collapse of the economy. But anyway, so where were we at 5 years ago? What kind of material changes have we seen? What kind of material adoptions have we seen? Technical workforce changes, clientele, patient changes. What was our industry like just 5 years ago? All right, stop and think about this for a moment. 5 years ago, there were 14,000 laboratories on the payroll, or 14,000 labs with a payroll, all right? Our work demand was so great that 38% of all our restorations were being outsourced overseas. None of us ever thought that figure was that high, okay? But NADL statistics showed us that, yes, it was running that rampant. Laboratory consolidation was only considered if you were looking at retirement, okay? CAD/CAM was viewed as an alternative to reduce our overhead and our overtime. The average turnaround was 2 weeks or more for a single unit to a doctor, okay? PFMs were stable 5 years ago. That was still our stable market. Zirconia was considered like the elite of cosmetics. Emax was just establishing itself as a posterior alternative, all right? Bruxer. Well, let's bring up Bruxer for a minute. So that was 5 years ago. Bruxer was considered a restoration for bruxing patients, all right? Where are we at now? Cold cure temps were the standard. Hybrid combo cases were metal and acrylic, you know, acrylic over metal bars or whatever, all right? 5 years ago, there were 58,000 technicians in the U.S. workforce that we knew of, right? And this again is NADL standards or NADL statistics. Finding qualified technicians was literally impossible. Our overtime was running rampant. We were overstaffed with non-qualified technicians. I mean, how many of us had technicians running around the laboratory that took all day long to wax 3 crowns or something like that, you know? And I mean, I had it, you know, and it was driving me crazy. But we also set ourselves up for introducing doctors to what offshore restorations were all about. Because we told that doctor, we're so busy, we can't handle it all, we got to send it off, okay? That was our own demise, in my opinion, okay? Clientele, doctors were acceptable of 2 weeks or later deliveries. Patients, they followed the doctor's protocol. Fixed materials were relatively common. A lot of practices were so busy they were moving from insurance-based reimbursements to fee-for-service, so they get more money out of it. But that was 5 years ago, and then all hell busted loose. All right? So today, there's less than 6,800 labs with a payroll from 5 years. There's less than 34,000 technicians. Outsourced is now ebbing, okay, which is good. All right, so it's coming back on, you know, coming back to shore. Rapid turnaround is now expected at no extra charge. All right, how many of you get that? You know, PFMs are typically a small percentage of our production. Emax is right now is king. By next year, I would say your layered translucent zirconias are going to be stepping up to push Emax back a little bit. The Bruxer is a new PFM and requested everywhere. All right, how many anterior Bruxers do we do nowadays? It's unbelievable, you know. Full hybrid, or full zirconia hybrids are now replacing the standard hybrids. Patients are returning for case acceptance. Their demands are greater and they want it faster. All right? The doctors are catering to those patients' demands now. They're not out there, I mean, they are searching for those patients. All right? But they're also demanding it faster and cheaper. All right? So we get pushed. You know? Labs have always gotten pushed. Materials are changing so rapidly right now, it's just unbelievable, especially if you're into CAD/CAM technology, okay? It's not the standard wax a crown, you know, cast it, you know, finish the metal down, stack the porcelain on there. I mean, it's not there anymore, you know? I mean, it's just changing all the time. A lot of the practices are returning to insurance-based just so they can get more patients in there now, so. But anyway, so now let's look at your future as far as in-lab. Okay. Does anybody in here have an in-lab system already? That's good. What do you got? Oh, really? You got one? Okay. Does everybody else have some sort of CAD technology, or are you looking at getting into it and everything else, you know? Then that's great, because I'm going to show you a lot of things that Sorona's done. I have been a Sorona advocate for 11, 12 years now, okay? I started out just with the simplest, okay? But anyway, so I've been with them for like going on 12 years. And it's been a good ride. Sorona is located in Charlotte. My lab is in Charlotte, okay? So they were wanting to pair with a lab at that particular time, okay? They chose me. I did not choose them, okay? I kept trying to push them away, but they kept coming back, you know? And I'd push away, and they come back, and push away, come back. Because I didn't want to get into it. I did not want to get into, you know, CAD/CAM technology. I figured it couldn't be there. But anyway, so I did get on board with them and everything else, and it has been a tremendous ride, okay? I've learned a lot. My lab has totally changed. My life has totally changed, okay? I still work, I'm 63 years old, I still work 12, 14 hours a day, okay? And I still work 6, 7 days a week. But I do it because I love it. It's not because, you know, I'm just basically, I mean, I can bring people in and everything else, but I honestly, absolutely love what I do, okay? So, anyway, so to start off with it, let's look at the brain of the system. And this little girl right here, she's like the brain of my laboratory, okay? Michelle's been with me 20 years, I brought her in as a child, okay? I'd tell everybody she's my daughter, okay? But the X5, this is Proneness new scanning system, right there. The X5 is a totally open STL export machine, okay? The nice part about this particular scanner, okay, is the fact that you don't have to sit there in front of it all the time. What you do is you put your models up there, you got to enter your information into it, put your models up there, scan, and let it scan. Totally automatic scanning. It's going to run through the process, okay? So as Michelle was sitting there with all these case bands and everything else, she puts a model up, but she also handles my model and die department. Okay, so what she will do is she'll start scanning one, go in there and pour a model or trim a model, whatever she's got to do, come back, set the next model up there, hit the button, it starts scanning, and it does it, like I said, it's automatic. Okay, so there's no constantly focusing, repositioning, stuff like this. Whenever we had the older scanner, and I still have it, okay, every day, every afternoon, that would be the afternoon that wasn't got to, and we'd have to do that the next morning. After we put that scanner in, though, what was amazing is that shelf was cleared every afternoon, okay, because she could get it done, still do a model and die work, and she also helps do a lot of design and everything else. So it was amazing, you know, how fast it really speeded up our production. Yes, sir.
During your presentation, or should we hold it for after?
Do what now?
Can I ask a question?
Oh, yes.
While you're running a software to scan,
Uh-huh.
do you run parallel second software to design
Oh, yes.
the unit that you scan?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir, you can. In fact, a lot of times what we do, we have like probably 8 or 10 cases in motion all the time. Now, that's one station right there. I've got 3 stations set up, okay?
Do you need a separate dongle, which would cost you?
You don't buy dongles anymore. You buy a license. It's a license fee, okay, or a license key to operate this.
You can have multiple stations.
Yes, you can.
With one license.
Right. And I think they charge, if you want, I have 2 design stations set up, which does not hook to a scanner. Okay, all our scanning is done on that one station right there. So what we do is we've got 2 separate computers that are set up to where we can sit down and design. Where I design is like on the large cases and everything else. So all I got to do is just reach into my computer, into the database, pull that case out that she just scanned, and I'm on the other side of the lab and I'm designing it. Okay, so it's simple. So we can run, you know, whenever I say 8 to 10 cases, easily, you know, simultaneously. Right. Like I said, it's a totally open STL export machine now, all right? Whatever you want to get out of it, you can, all right? And this is because of the X5. We don't do that much PFMs anymore, okay? But I will show you we're starting to go back to them, all right? And the technology has changed some of my business models to where I drifted away from something, but I also came back to it too, okay? Because it's so much simpler to do now. Whatever you can imagine, you can build, okay? This right here is just a typical day of full zirconia, okay? We were sending off this metal here to Oregon, okay, because we could export it. So what we would do is export the file, and we get just framework in, okay? I do personally a lot of large cosmetic cases, okay, in my laboratory. They're all done, you know, through the in-lab system, all right. Implants, I don't know if y'all were sitting through Sean's program a little while ago. Implants, I'm going to show you, you're going to knock them out in 2 hours, okay. Just a temporary here, PFM pressed metal right there, okay. Cases of this size right here. That's all on 4. Okay? Totally designed within lab. All right? This case right here, we just finished it up. You'll see it here in a minute, and this case rocked. It really did. And a lot of times people say, well, you got to have X, Y, Z system to be able to do that. Okay? I'm not even going to say who they are. But you don't. in lab, within lab, you can do it, and you can do it at ease, okay? So there's nothing out there that you really can't do if you can imagine how to get it done. We do a lot of same-day smiles, okay, with this kind of system, okay? So stop thinking about it. With this kind of system, this right here can be done in a day, okay? Now, we're all in business to get more business. And I don't think there's anyone out here right now that says, I got so much work, I don't want any more, okay? So we all want more business. How can we get that business in here? You walk into a doctor, he gives you a case that size right there. What did we typically say, and what do we sometimes say now? Okay, doc, it'd be like 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, you know. Even though I'm not that busy, okay, that's still a lot of time and effort and everything else. You can knock this out in a day. Totally finished, start to finish in a day, okay? This is that hybrid, that full contour hybrid I was talking about, all right? So this case right here, I mean, that is some pretty classic results, okay? I mean, I'm a good technician. I'm not as good as a lot of them are, okay? But that, to me, that kind of rocked, you know, I like that. And I was excited whenever I did it. Number one is because I finally proved to everybody, no, you don't have to have XYZ system. It's just as easy or easier on the in-lab than it is with somebody else. So a lot of it, you know, that's your brain of the system. That's your design station. That's going to get you started. All right. So from that point there, what do you do with it? You put it into a milling machine, or you can outsource it. You know, this kind of stuff. Serona has the MCXL, okay, which is their older unit. Okay, it's got a little round top on it. And they come out with their new MCX5. That MCX5 is a cat's meow, I'm gonna tell you, you know. But then a lot of what primary materials are we using as we're using these machines, okay? So we're doing like a lot of Emax. We're doing a lot of zirconia oxide. We're doing a lot of PMMA, okay? We're doing some wax, you know, this kind of stuff. So with us, in my laboratory, all right, we got these MCXLs. That's what I had used for years and years and years, okay? They were a workhorse. They could take anything I could throw at them, all right? So I could mill zirconia, I could mill Emax, I could mill PMMA, I could mill wax, you know, or plastics, you know, this kind of stuff. And I didn't have any problems with it, okay? I mean, they do an extremely well job. The reason I can knock these large cases out in a day that I just showed you is because with that MCXL, you're going to mill out Emax crown every 8 to 10 minutes, okay? And then from that point there, all you're going to do is stain and glaze, all right? So you're not going to be layered and all this other kind of stuff. You saw the results of what that case looked like, okay? That was milled out, stained and glazed into the patient's mouth. This right here is just a typical what we would do with the MCXL, all right? With our zirconia, a lot of times what I end up doing is some of these cases right here are full contour zirconia, okay, or Bruxer. But usually what we do, I like to get my work out the door rapidly, okay? So when I say I want to get it out the door rapidly, I don't want to sit there and be layered and porcelain everywhere, all right? So what I do is I basically build, you'll see 90% of this stuff here has zirconia occlusal on it, all right? We get the translucency with the zirconia now so that all I got to do is layer the facial, okay? If I can layer just the facial and get the results, why not go that way? I know I'm going to get the accuracy with the mill, okay, and with the scan. So anyway, so I've reduced my labor by just doing that, all right? And I don't have anybody complaining. Now, if I do go to a lower posterior, to me that's a secondary cosmetic zone, okay? So I may bring the porcelain further on occlusion, something like that. But on upper posteriors, no, it's going to be full zirconia. All right, I'm going to layer just that facial. Turn out twice as much work, okay, in half the time, and it looks just as good, fits better, and I don't have to worry about it breaking. It won't break. All right, so this here's the MCX5. And that's a racehorse. And I mean, when she's running, okay? I primarily use my MCX5 for zirconia only, all right? It does take 45 minutes to mill an Emax crown out of that right there. The reason being is because the instrumentation is smaller, okay? So it's gonna be a lot more precise, all right? It just takes longer to do it. So why do I want to spend 45 minutes to do an Emax crown when I can pop one out of this ring right here in 10, 15, okay? So anyway, so that's what I basically use my MCX5 for, okay? It's for just my zirconia, all right? And that's what we're popping out of there on that MCX5, all right? With the MCXL, that smaller unit, okay, we can only mill up a certain size, you know, zirconia, all right, because it comes in like just little blocks, all right? So if it's too big, then I'll show you how you send that off to, you know, have someone else do it for you at a reasonable rate and everything else. You'll see that in a little bit. But with the MCX5, I can mill anything I want to. I can mill roundhouses with it, okay? I don't get roundhouses every day. I wish I did, but you know, when they do come in the door, I can handle it. This is another picture. You can see what I'm talking about, the zirconia occlusals, okay? And these right here are just typical bruxers. Another thing that we do too, I look at it this way, I'm trying to get my work out the door as fast as I can, as cheaply as I can, to make the most profit as I can, all right? I don't want to sit there and play with stuff all day long, all right? So what I do is, prior to, as soon as it comes out of the milling machine, we polish it. So we go ahead and pre-polish everything. So that way, whenever I center it, okay, when it comes out of the center furnace, it's done. All I got to do is just high shine it, okay? And it's just, as like I said, and because the MCX5 is going to give me details, okay? So if I pre-polish everything, you know, and it's a lot easier to polish in the green stage than it is in, you know, after it's fired. Pre-polish it, fire it, comes out, boom. You know, 3 minutes, it's out the door. Yes, sir? No. What I use is, we'll go in there, we'll take like a high-speed diamond or something like that, and maybe refine some anatomy that, you know, we may have missed in the milling stage, okay? And then there's a little wheel, I don't even know who it's made by, but it's almost like a brush wheel, okay? But it's like a coarse brush wheel. And what we do is just lightly go over that with it to kind of smooth everything out. And then we take a buff wheel, okay, a small baby buff, and use a high shine compound like you would on dentures, okay, or on acrylics. And it's white, okay? So it's like, I mean, when you high shine it with that material, you know, you're not aggressively pushing on that material. You're just letting your rotary instrument work, okay? So as you do that, then it brings up to a shine, all right? Whenever it's done like that, you don't have to worry about the material being inside that zirconia or you know, impregnating into it and this kind of stuff, you know. It's going to burn out, okay? So this is some of the things that we were doing with the X5. There's another case right there, okay? All full contour occlusals. How much time is that going to save me instead of like trying to stack porcelain on the lingual, okay, on the occlusal, you know, and everything else? All right, so let's get into implants. How many of you doing implants? Yeah, we all are. NADL just published that 15% of dental laboratories reported that custom abutments made up to 25% of their implant workload, all right? With Sirona, mine is probably 98%, okay? I used to send off a lot of abutments to Atlantis. I hate dealing with the stock abutments, okay? To me, implant companies rape us, number one on the cost, all right? So if they're gonna rate me on the cost, and I gotta put something in there, and then I gotta sit there and just grind like the dickens, you know, to get it down to where it needs to be and everything else, that just literally pisses me off worse than anything, okay, that knowing I have to do that, right? So anyway, so it's like, I mean, a lot of my work I would send to Atlantis for custom abutments, okay? And because if I did have to grind on that titanium for that doctor because he wanted me to spend $100 less to give him a stock abutment and me sit there and grind on that stuff, and he wants it for free, you know, no, it ain't gonna happen. So I mean, I would charge him religiously, you know, to show him my time is not free. You know, if you want me to grind on that titanium, you're gonna pay for it. But anyway, with the Proneness implants and everything else, what you end up doing is you design it from the top down, okay? So you go in there and you scan this case, okay? And you've got what they call a tie base. You put it in there. You design that crown full contour. So you get it exactly where you want it, okay? As you get it exactly where you want it, then you hit a button that says split, okay? When it says split, then you're going to get this right here. Now you can see what that abutment is. You can see what that abutment looks like underneath that crown. And you can go in there and you can alter that abutment to whatever degree you want to. You can enlarge it. You can make it smaller. You give it a larger shoulder. You know, you taper it down, whatever you want to do. You've got full control over it, okay? We're having full control over those implants and everything else. Now I'm giving that doctor a custom abutment, okay? I'm giving him my custom abutment, all right? My cost on these things is, and yours too, is for the abutment tie base and for the zirconia to go on top of it would be like maybe $130. Okay, I charge $275 for it going out the door. It takes me literally 10 minutes to do a custom abutment. Okay.
What type bases do you use?
Proneness type bases. Yeah, you'll see them here in just a second. But as I told you, we're trying to get more business in here, right, into our own laboratories. All right. So there again, the doctor sends you an implant crown. What do you tell him? He says, you know, calls you up. Lindy, when can you get the crown back? It used to be, well, you know, 2 weeks, you know. Now, I can tell him, well, I'm gonna give it back to you today. And I'll give you the crown finished too. So I'm gonna give you a custom abutment and a finished crown, okay, today. What are you gonna charge me extra? I ain't gonna charge you nothing. It's just part of the service. Offer that and see what they do. Not only are they gonna be tickled to death because you just put money in their pocket, because now they don't wait 2 weeks to get, you know, their other half of their money, you know, that they've already collected that they won't pay us. But anyway, so now they're not waiting on that, okay? So they're going to be on the phone. They're going to be telling their friends. They're going to tell their colleagues, you know, look what this lab just did, okay? So here's your custom abutment and Emax in less than 2 hours. Easy, less than 2 hours. The whole thing from a model with the soft tissue on there to completely finished out the door in less than 2 hours. Okay, so then a lot of you say, well, how can you do it in less than 2 hours? You still got to fire zirconia, okay? Because if you look, there's your tie base, that little metal piece right there, okay? There is your zirconia abutment, which is cemented onto the tie base, and there's your Emax crown, all right? So with the zirconia, you know, everybody says you got to fire zirconia in what, 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, whatever, okay? Not no more, okay? You can fire it 10 minutes. Now, the in-fire furnace that I'm going to show you here, okay, you can fire zirconia custom abutments in 10 minutes. All right, it ramps up, takes 20 minutes to ramp up to heat. You put this thing in the furnace, fires 10 minutes, drops down, 10 minutes to cool. All right, so what I've done is, as I'm designing my case, and say that central you just saw a while ago, okay, I design that case in probably 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Let's say 10 minutes at max, okay? As I'm designing it, what I'm gonna do is, as soon as I get it designed, I'm gonna start milling that abutment. I'm milling that abutment, and I go in there and cut the furnace on. All right, I want to start ramping up. So the abutment is already done. All I got to do is dry it out, okay? Because you want real dry zirconia, before you fire it. So what I do is I ramp that furnace up. I'm drying that abutment, okay? When at 20 minutes, that furnace is ready for me to load it into. All right, so I get a green light. I take that abutment, stick it in the furnace. 10 minutes, it's done. While that's firing, I'm working on the Emax crown over top of it. And all I'm doing is just like staining glazing it. And so when it all comes out, and it's done. I cement it together and I'm through, okay? But this is the end-fire furnace. And this thing is, if I didn't have this right here, I wouldn't be speaking to you guys today. And the reason why I wouldn't be speaking to you, because there's no way I could get the work out of my lab as fast as what I can without this thing right here, okay? This furnace right here is built, designed, and developed for dentistry. It's not a knockoff from some other industry and everything else. It's built for dentistry itself. That's it. That's that same implant I just showed you a while ago coming out of the SuperSpeed, all right, the 10-minute cycle. Whenever that thing goes off, it's like a nuclear reactor, okay? The whole lab, you can feel the heat coming off of it because you're blasting out 1,580 degrees centigrade. That's a lot of heat, So usually in the wintertime, everybody loves it when I fire that thing off, because as soon as it opens up, they all run in that room. Because, labs are usually kind of cool anyway. But the furnace itself is completely programmed and programmable, okay? You have 5 preset programs, which includes the SuperSpeed for that 10-minute centering, okay? I would recommend to anybody you can center your abutments, okay? You can center single coping crowns if you want to. Don't try to do bruxers or something like that because it don't come out right. You also got 30 open programs for your custom desires, all right? Now, and it all depends on what company you want to pair with as far as your materials. So if you go into buying this system and everything else, who are you going to buy your supplies from, okay? So if you're going to buy from Glidewell, if you're going to buy bruxers, okay, then bruxer has its own firing cycle, all right? So a lot of these furnaces don't have room for you to put in varying programs, all right? This one right here has got 30 open programs. So I can fire bruxer, I can fire avoclares, I can fire, Vitas, zirconia, anybody I want to. And it's also got capabilities of centering chromium cobalt, okay? And I did have a video on that, but I blew that thing off a while ago, so. But this is fast, easy money, and it's also motivating. When I say motivating, because whenever you go to that doctor and tell him I'm gonna give you a crown, abutment, everything today, completely finished. Just as soon as he hands me in the impression, okay? I got more time in pouring up the model and putting the soft tissue on it than I do finishing the restoration out, okay? That's kind of cool. But this is what the tie base is, all right? So you buy this little kit right here. It comes with this right there. That's your tie base. And it comes with what they call a scan body, which sits on top of that tie base. And that's where you get your orientation of where it fits into the mouth. And then after you do it, okay, so we fired that zirconia abutment, then we just sit there and we cement it to that tie base, and that's done, okay, done. Now it's like, the nice part about it is, so if I've got $130 into it, okay, if I send a case off to Atlantis, I'm gonna have like 2 1/4, okay, something like that.
You cement your tie bases?
Yes. Yeah, I cement that tie base right there to that.
And you use intraoral cements or?
Use Panavia. But anyway, so my cost on a on an abutment going to Atlantis, okay, is going to be about $2.25 or something like that. You know, 200, 2.25. I've got $1.30 in this, okay, $1.30 in it, in 10 minutes, and I charge $275. You know, so that's pretty cool. And the doctor says, is there any charge for rush? No, because it's not a rush. You know, it's just part of my workflow, right? This was February the 16th, okay, just the other week. I was trying to get out of the lab, trying to get up here, trying to get all my work done, all right? So kind of remember this picture right here. You're going to see something else about it in a minute. A lot of, okay, zirconia occlusals. There's an implant right there. Bruxers, bridge, more. So, another thing that Serona has done is partnered with ProJet, okay? I was never a fan of PFMs, okay? PFMs are our largest money sucker that we have, okay? It's like, they're just so labor intensive. But that was our standard, and that's all we did. For years and years and years was PFMs, okay? We didn't realize how labor intensive they were. We didn't realize how much time we were putting into our work until we saw Emax, until we saw zirconia, okay, this kind of stuff. So my doctors, I would push them away. You know, they said that, will you do a PFM crown for me? No. You know, I'll be honest with you, I said that it's not that I'm pushing business away, but I'm pushing labor-intensive business away, okay? So I try to tell them, no, I don't want to do PFMs. Because I hated to have to sit there and wax, cast, finish, opaque, stack, grind, glaze, polish, just went on and on and on and on. But anyway, so they come out with this printer, and this is not a Serona product, but they have paired with Serona, okay? Designing by computer instead of doing stuff by hand is going to be so fast for you. Okay, so if you're looking into getting into CAD/CAM and everything else, your workflow is going to be so quick. Your design is going to be so quick. It's going to be unreal because you're going to do stuff simply in matters of minutes, 5 minutes or less. Okay, so with that thought in mind, if I can design a crown for even a PFM, okay, if I can design it that I don't have to have somebody sit there and wax, okay, and I can go to a printer, send that file to a printer and print it, okay, then all of a sudden it's not quite so labor intensive because I've had waxers that would sit there all day long and give me 3 friggin' crowns, okay? And it was like I said, it just eat me alive. And especially when they don't think I'm not looking. They're back in the corner, all damn day for 3 hours with them for 3 crowns. I want to walk back there and kill them, okay?
That's wax on, wax off.
That's it. Exactly, So anyway, but it's like if I can design this thing, send it to a printer, get it printed, bam, okay, and that's something to look at. So anyway, so I did that. I put it in. We started working with it and everything else. And then what we did was we got over there and just kind of really pushed it to its limits. What can I do with it? How far can I go with this thing? So what we do is we design it, okay, we print it, we cast it. Now, I don't have to really finish it because the computer is going to take it to an absolute perfect fit, contour, thickness, everything else. Not a lot of finishing time. So all I do is opaque it. And then when I opaque it, I go back over and I scan it one more time. And I put a top on it. All right? So now I don't have a ceramist that's going to be sitting there layering porcelain all the time. I'm going to press that porcelain to that framework. Okay? And that's what I got. So I did that to see what would happen. All of a sudden I realized my PFMs weren't labor intensive anymore because that computer is going to do the biggest part of the work. Okay? So now all I'm doing is pushing files into a printer to give me that. It's going to give me the bottom and it's going to give me the top. Okay? I was tickled to death with it. I started calling these doctors back up. I said, hey, you want some PFMs? I'll give them to you. And I'll give them to you as a break now, I ain't gonna charge you $200 for it. I'll give you a lot less. Because I jacked my prices up to $200 on PFMs, just so they wouldn't send them to me, okay? So now I'm bringing business back in here, so that's worked out pretty cool. We can print about anything you want to. That was about 7-unit bridge, put a precision attachment into it. We printed wax, we designed this side, designed that side, put pieces together, put the precision attachment in there, in case went out the door, you know, bam. Fits are incredible, okay? So anyway, so these are your primary components, okay? Your X5, which is the scanner, your choice of milling units, which is the MCXL or the MCX5, okay? Your end-fire furnace, okay, if you're looking at that. And then your ProJet, if you want to add that on there, okay? So what can you produce with these? That picture I showed you a while ago, that was February 16th. Okay, that was on Monday. I had to come up here, so I went to the lab on Saturday morning, and I worked Sunday too, okay? A lot of my work was already scanned, okay, by the cute little girl you saw at the very front, okay? So it was already scanned. But what I did was sit down and start designing. I'm designing and milling to whatever I got to do, okay, wherever I got to push cases through. I wasn't running numbers, okay? And I wasn't pushing stuff to show you numbers. I was just doing what I do, okay? But Monday morning, I looked over there, and I had finished out 41 units of zirconia, all right? And this is in 2 days, by myself, okay? I didn't have nobody there. 13 units were Brux or full contour. They're pre-polished. All I do is high shine them, okay, out the door. I sat there and did 8 units of PFMs that I just designed, sent to my printer, okay. I did 16 units of VMAX that I designed, milled, sitting there waiting on ceramics. There was 3 gold crowns I sent to Infinident, okay, to be done. If you haven't sent off any of these gold crowns to Strategy Milling, you got to look into it, okay? You design the crown, you send the file off, okay? I think they charge you like $75 when you send it to Infinident. 2 days later, you got a crown back. All you got to do is polish it, knock the sprue off of it, polish it. You don't even rubber wheel it, just polish it. I charged $225 for it. I got 10 minutes in design and $75 in cost, and I charged $225. And the doctors love it. But I also did 4 implants that day with the restorations on there, all right? So the total that I did that day, that weekend, by myself, was 76 units in basically a day and a half. Now, I'm an old fat guy, all right? But I'll tell you what, that's rocking some work. That is pushing some work out the door. Yes, sir.
On full contour zirconias, you're not glazing those?
No. Just high shine.
After you smooth and high shine them in the raw stage, how do you color them? Do you mill out of colored blocks?
I use colored blocks. Yeah, I do. To me, I don't have to worry about the coloring in there. Some cases, there's some, depending, most of the time I'll use colored blocks, pre-shaded, okay? Occasionally I will use, Bruxer has a color 100, okay, that is a puck, and that's the color on it. It's called a 100, and that takes care of all A's, A1, B1, C1 shades, okay. And then if I have A2s in there, I'll just add a little bit of color to them before I center them, okay. But anyway, so that's Monday. So I billed out over $10,000 that day. I went, yes. That's the chunk of change, right? Then the next day, it snowed in Charlotte, and I billed out 0, okay? So anyway, so it's like you had put, do your averages. $10,000 one day, 0 the next day, $5,000 at average, What the hell? I thought I was getting ahead. But, all right, so another thing that you can do is Infinident, okay? Infinident is your personal connection for your digital impressions, okay? With the in-lab system, you're going to get digital work coming in your office. You're going to get digital impressions. You have to work it, but you will get them. But they also, so they'll do your models, okay, for you as far as from your digital impressions. They can mill your zirconia if you only want to buy a scanner right now, okay? They can mill your zirconia, your Bruxer, your Emacs. They can send off the copings, what they call SLM copings, okay, to Oregon. Strategy milled gold crowns, I just showed you a while ago. They can mill diagnostic wax-ups, okay? Whoever thought we would be milling diagnostic wax-ups, but we can, and it's fast, okay? SDL transfers, more than that. This is the lab behind your lab. This is Infinity team, okay? This is where all the printing goes and everything else, okay? So as you purchase a system like InLab, your business is going to start increasing. It's going to increase, number one, because you're going to be offering that doctor faster service. You don't have to worry about rush fees. You're going to show him what you can really do. You know, you're going to be balancing out your day, and it's going to just automatically start increasing. But as it increases, what's going to happen? There's going to be growing pains, okay? So with the growing pains and everything else, if you start getting overloaded, all you do is hit a button, and you send that stuff to them, okay? And then all of a sudden, they take care of your overload as far as your zirconia crowns or as far as your gold crowns, you know. And I highly suggest people, don't wax crowns anymore. Don't wax gold crowns. Design them. Send them to these people right here. Send it off for $75. And when it comes back, seriously, you don't even rubber wheel it. You knock the sprue off. You don't even work the margins. You polish it. You send it to the doctor. The contacts are there. If you design them on a computer, your contacts are going to be right where you put them.
What's your opinion of their model? I don't particularly care for it.
From Infinity, at one time I wasn't real wild about it, okay? But what I've learned is through the technology that we have, as far as the computers and everything else, it's more about the digital design than it is about what fits on the model, okay? I've got doctors that send me cases all the time that are still gun-shy about it, and they'll say, I'll send you a digital impression, Lindy, and I'm going to send you a physical model. I want you to verify one to the other one. And I'll tell them now, no, it ain't going to happen. You know, I'll make it on one or the other. But it's like if I make it on the digital, okay, and try to transfer it into an analog model, an impression that he poured, there's going to be discrepancy in there. It's just going to happen. It's the nature of the animal. Or if he wants me to do it on a conventional model and then transfer it to the digital file that he did, it ain't going to fit either. But if he gives me an option one way or the other, without trying to control me, I'm going to give him a case that fits every time, okay? So it's not so much as what the model looks like, it's what kind of fit you really get off of it.
What about the articulator? Do you think they're going to improve that?
The articulating, the system has got a virtual articulator built into it. Right. Now, I'll tell you a quick story on this one, too. I did a case for a doctor about 3 weeks ago. It was 8 units. He sent me Facebook transfers. He sent me, you name it. He had it sent there. Stick bites, the whole 9 yards, you know, and photos and everything else. So what I did was I put the case on there. I scanned it. I had it on a Vertex articulator, okay, because it's easier to get under there and scan it and everything else. And I sent it all back to him. And he called me up. He was raising hell, okay. He said, I told you I want this thing mounted on a Sam's articulator. I wanted this used. I wanted that used, blah, 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 so forth, so on. He says, you know, I'm not paying you. He said, I'm not even calling the patient in. I said, why? He says, because you didn't do what I told you to do. I said, his name was Houston. I said, Houston, I'll tell you what. I said, the case is done. Try it in. He said, Lindy, I ain't doing it. He said, I ain't even calling the patient in. He says, because I ain't going to sit here and spend an hour grinding on this case. I said, you won't be grinding on it. He says, and I'm not sure if you've got everything lined up right and everything else, okay? It wasn't mounted on the Sam's articulator like I told you to. I said, it was mounted, but virtual. It's going to be right, you know? And he says, I'm not sitting there. We argued for a friggin' hour. that he was not going to put a case in, and he was not going to pay me for it. And I said, oh yeah, you will pay me. I can promise you that, but you at least owe me that you'll call that patient in and put it in. So he was so adamant and so mad, he wasn't going to do it. But anyway, so his patient was scheduled that next day. So he had no option. He had to deliver something, okay? So anyway, whenever he tried that case in, he didn't try it in, he cemented it in. He did not touch a contact on anywhere medial, distal, occlusal, lingual, nothing. Every single movement that he wanted was there. Every single angle he wanted was there. Every single cant he wanted was there, because it was all done controlled. Now, did he call me up to thank me? Nope. Nope. He was too damn proud. But his assistants called me up, and they said, Lindy, you rocked that case. You did everything that patient asked for. And she says, and what blew his mind was, he didn't have to touch it. He didn't have to grind on a single thing, you know. So that shows you the accuracy of this kind of stuff. Service, that comes from Infinity if you decide to go that way, okay. If the case is too large for you to mill, okay, they'll take care of it for you. There's your models right there, and I agree with you. They're not the most impressive looking models by any means, okay, but they work, okay. To me, all they are for verification, right? Strona Connect, I'll hit you up with this right here. This is your digital highway 2000s of new accounts and friendships, okay? There's close to 18,000 CDT doctors out there, all right? Do the math, okay? 18,000 doctors that they are milling their own units, but they're not doing their anterior work, they're not doing the bridges, you know, they don't know how to do anteriors. And not only do they not know how to do anteriors, they ain't worth a damn at doing anteriors. So what are they going to do? They got to send it to somebody. So anyway, it's not like you're going to buy an in-lab system and this stuff's going to roll in the door. You've got to do your due diligence. You know, you got to find these doctors, and it's so simple to find them, okay? But you start partnering yourself with these doctors. You don't get pissed off because they put a CDT unit in. You partner with them. And you're going to be surprised at what comes in your door, okay? You're going to be surprised at the people that you meet, because now you're not just a lab providing that doctor. You're on the same page as that doctor. His digital file, you're looking at. You're looking at the exact same thing that he sent you, okay? Whenever he tells you, I want my contacts with green, with just a little bit of yellow, now you can give him that contact that's green, just a little bit of yellow. You've given him exactly what he wants, okay? So anyway, it's like I've met some of the coolest people in the world, okay? Some of the coolest doctors in the world. I work with doctors Canada, okay? I could never do that before, okay, but I do it now. And the reason I can do it because it's like whenever they take that impression, I've got it the moment that they scan it, okay? I've got it, I'm looking at it. I can work on it. So, I hope I give you a little bit of guidance into what the future can be, okay? Because seriously, this will change your life. You're not going to be sitting in the lab working 12, 14 hours a day like I do, but, you know, but I do it for the fun, okay? But it's like I said, we used to have to do it because it was labor. We had to do it for the labor, okay? So if any of you want to contact me, there's my cell number. 704-582-9414, and there's my lab number, okay, 704-399-2201. And as like I said, I'm third generation technician, certified, by the way, and my father was certified, my grandfather was certified, and my son is also certified. And my grandson is wanting to get into it, so, but anyway. Yeah, that's right. He already does sometimes. But anyway, thank you for your time. I appreciate you coming out. If you have any questions, just come to me. I'll answer every single one of them I can, okay?